Monday, October 12th is Columbus Day, which we've celebrated in various parts of this country since the 18th century, even before it became a federal holiday back in 1937. And that's probably long enough, because when you find out the actual facts of what Christopher Columbus did when he got to America, you're going to see that it's one of the darkest chapters in America's history. Now, I've got a lot of these facts, Cenk, so feel free to just cut me off when you want to interject. But first of all, let's start with something light. Columbus initiated the transatlantic slave trade in early February 1494, first sending several dozen enslaved Tainos, these are the native people of the island that he landed on, to Spain. Columbus described those he enslaved as well-made and of good intelligence. He ordered 1,600 of them rounded up and had 550 of the best males and females, according to one witness, Michel de Cuneo, chained and sent as slaves to Spain. Of the rest who were left, that person writes, the announcement went around that whoever wanted them could take as many as he pleased, and this was done. And understand that significant numbers of even those early slave deliveries ended up dying en route.
Okay, so let me come in there with a couple amazing things here. First of all, Columbus also described the natives that he ran into when he first discovered this land. If he discovered it, how come they were already there? Anyway, he said they were, quote, so full of love and without greed. And you would think like, oh, that's great. That's going to lead to good relations. He's like, no, idiots, he thought. They're so full of love without greed. It makes it super easy to enslave them, beat them, murder them, chop their hands off. Christopher Columbus, the original ISIS, we're going to get to that in a second. Okay? And so he looked at their love and compassion as a weakness that he could exploit. This is the man we celebrate, right? And he says, you take the slaves and do what we want with them. Here's what they did with them according to the journals at the time. So this is history, and it's not somebody else said it about them. They said it themselves, right?
Most of the quotes you're going to see are taken from his personal journals.
In the journals of Columbus and his men, they bragged about how they would break the native women, and that they would break their will to resist after rape, after rape, after rape. And then eventually they can get the women to do whatever they wanted because they had raped them so much. Now, this is the man we celebrate, right? So now, look, when I was a kid, I was told that Columbus discovered America. I knew that he hadn't discovered it because there were people there. Even as a kid, you could figure that out. But I got it. He discovered it from a European perspective. And at least, hey, the Europeans came here, we set up America, and we celebrated it, and I celebrated it. But when I grew up, I put childish things aside. Okay, so now you want to take the blue pill, and you want to go back to thinking Christopher Columbus is a lovely guy. Understand that you're making an active choice to deny facts, history, and say, I'd like to be ignorant. That's what I would like to do, right? That's a choice you're making, okay? But now that I know the facts, well, obviously I changed my mind on Christopher Columbus because no one ever told me what the real facts were. You find out the real facts and you go, you would have to be a monster to want to celebrate this guy.
Yeah, they leave it out of the elementary school textbooks. But yeah, so we have more barbarity, but the fundamental facts, as you pointed out, he did not discover America. First of all, other Europeans had already been to America at that point, and as you point out, well over 100 million native people had already been living there. They had discovered it first, actually. They did not think that the world was flat at that point. They had not thought that for over 1,000 years, so he was not brave in being willing to go over the edge of the world. And he did not go in a mission of exploration at all. It was a commercial enterprise and a religious enterprise to find gold and to find slaves and to convert them where possible. Now, the initial slavery that we talked about proved to be unprofitable, but he later wrote, "Let us in the name of the Holy Trinity go on sending all the slaves that can be sold." So there you get both the religious and the commercial considerations in one sentence. When the slavery did not pay off, he turned to a tribute system, forcing every Taino of 14 or older to fill a hawk's bell with gold every 3 months. If successful, they were safe for another 3 months. If not, Columbus ordered that they be punished by having their hands chopped off, or they were chased down by attack dogs. As the Spanish priest Bartolomé de las Casas wrote, this tribute system was impossible and intolerable. They not only had their hands cut off, by the way, but they were forced to wear them around their neck on thongs. A little bit barbaric there.
Okay, now imagine if ISIS had cut off hands, which they do, right, from time to time. So does Saudi Arabia, by the way, one of our top allies. And then they made the kids, 15, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, wear the hands around their neck. And then they said, well, I'm only chopping it off because you didn't give me enough money, enough gold, enough bribes, right? And then they rape the women. They do this to the kids, to all the adults. And then they sick dogs on them, rip their flesh from their body as we all watch. Now, we would rightfully call them monsters, the worst of the worst, right? Now, when Columbus does the same exact thing, we name a national holiday after him.
Yeah.
Again, if you didn't know, I didn't know either, right? It's okay. You're not a bad person. We were all told, hey, Columbus, hey, it was wonderful Italian, comes here, discovers America.
Explorer, brave.
Brave, all that stuff. It's okay, you didn't know. But now you know.
Yeah.
But now you know. You can't celebrate that guy.
Yeah. Now, there's more that they have to know, unfortunately. This is another section from Christopher Columbus's personal journal. He wrote, 100 castellanos are as easily obtained for a woman as for a farm, and it is very general, and there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 are now in demand. So they had set up some sort of system of pimps and sexual slavery in the New World. Eventually, he went back to Europe and then returned with more men after saying that he could conquer all of the natives because they had so little experience with war that he needed just 50 men so that he could govern them. On his second trip to the New World, he brought cannons and attack dogs. If a native resisted slavery, he would cut off a nose or an ear. If slaves tried to escape, he had them burned alive. Other times he sent attack dogs to hunt them down, and the dogs would tear off the arms and legs of the screaming natives while they were still alive. If the Spaniards ran short of meat to feed the dogs, Arawak babies were killed for dog food. Additionally, and this is one of the sources for the information, we referenced him earlier, one of Columbus's men, Bartolomé de las Casas, was so mortified by Columbus's brutal atrocities against the native peoples that he quit working for Columbus and became a Catholic priest. In a single day, he was an eyewitness as the Spanish soldiers dismembered, beheaded, and raped 3,000 native people. Such inhumanities and barbarisms were committed in my sight as no age can parallel, he said. My eyes have seen these acts so foreign to human nature that now I tremble as I write. And the final toll for this barbarity, the slavery, the disease, the war, the killing, the torture, experts generally agree that before 1492, the population on the island of Hispaniola probably numbered above 3 million. Within 20 years of Spanish arrival, it was reduced to only 60,000. Within 50 years, not a single original native inhabitant could be found.
Wow.
Millions were killed as a result of the exploration, the discovery.
Wow.
And that's on one island, by the way. This was then spread throughout the region.
If that's not terrorism, what in the world is, right? I mean, that terrorism is so thorough, is after all the rapes and the beheadings and setting people on fire, they kill at first nearly everyone, and then eventually everyone. They kill everyone they see, okay? It's one thing to be ignorant, and that's actually something that plagues us all. We're all ignorant of different things, you know? I don't know particle physics, right? But, and there's a lot you don't know and I don't know. That's okay. That's okay. If you're on a quest to learn, that's fantastic. That's exactly right, right? We're all on a quest to learn. But once you know, then it's an easy decision. If after knowing this, and you know that the contemporaries wrote this is not some interpretation later. They wrote this in their journals, right? After you know it, and you still want to say that this is a good man because I don't care because he was white or he was Italian or he did it he's the founder of our country. I don't care. I don't care. If you don't care about this, you're really a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah.
And you still want to celebrate this guy. It would be like celebrating the leader of ISIS.
Yeah.
It really would. I mean, this is exactly what ISIS does. And he did it at a level that ISIS couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.